Okay, so this is a video for the NLP Life Lessons series, which is on the People Building YouTube channel. The reason why everyone that's watching this on YouTube is thinking, why is she explaining it so slowly and dramatically? Well, here's the thing. Currently, whilst I'm recording here on the video, I'm also transmitting a video using Periscope, which is an app that if you haven't downloaded it already, it's super cool and you should do. So what the Periscope app does is it sends out a broadcast, a video broadcast, to everyone else that's part of the Periscope network. And as a Periscope user, what you can do is to look on a great big map of the world, and you'll see little flags hopping up. I've got someone here who is watching, and this is Cyber VSP. Say hi to your viewers. Hi. So basically, you can look on the map, you can see people transmitting broadcasts all over the world, and you can tune in and watch their broadcasts, and they can be broadcasting about absolutely anything. So I thought it might be quite good fun whilst recording my YouTube video for the People Building channel to transmit that via Periscope. So I've got my phone down here so that I can see people joining the conversation, and they might be sending in some comments and whatnot as well. Someone's saying, can you hypnotise me right now? Probably not the best idea. I do know people who use hypnosis via Skype, and I've never done that. I don't think there's particularly any risks involved. So for those of you who don't know much about hypnosis, the one thing I would say that is a potential side effect of using it is falling asleep. Apart from that, there's not too many major dangers. So if I were to use some hypnosis with you right now, there is a chance that you could fall asleep and I wouldn't be there to wake you up, or my broadcast might end before you have aroused yourself back to awakened consciousness, which could be a problem. So we won't do it like that. Someone saying hypnosis seems like a scam. That's a very good point. In some ways, it's certainly, I guess, I'm going to be a bit controversial here, it's a bit overrated in some ways because it comes across like it's magic stuff or secret special stuff, and actually it's quite simple. It's much more simple and straightforward than you would perhaps be expecting it to. Typically what happens when someone goes into a state of hypnosis, it's ultimately that they're in that relaxed place just before you fall asleep. So they're not as awake and alert as you watching this would be right now. But it's not as asleep as you are when you go to sleep at night time. I will not eat a raw onion after watching this. No, of course you won't. I promise I'm not going to hypnotise anyone today, but I do want to educate you about it because, people do sometimes think it's a bit scammy, and so it's useful for you to know what's true about it and what's not true about it. So if you've ever had the experience of kind of just starting to doze off to sleep and the TV's on, and you know that the TV's on and you know you really should get up and switch it off, but you can't be bothered. That's kind of what hypnosis is like. Someone has sent a message there saying, what's an ab reaction? That's an excellent question. So that's when someone has a reaction in hypnosis, or really any other kind of therapeutic intervention that you perhaps weren't expecting to have happen that day. So I'll give you an example of this because this happened once with a client that I was working with. One of the hypnotic inductions that I use, so there's typically 3 elements to a progressive trance induction, which is when we take someone into trance very gradually. So the first part is an induction, and that's usually where you're talking to them about relaxing their body. The next part we call the deepener, and that's where we'd really see a shift in someone's level of consciousness. And then the third part's where we do the stuff, so whatever we're working on that day. Someone's just said they've seen someone stick their hand to a table before. Yeah, that can happen. And it just depends how susceptible someone is to a trance state. Is past life regression therapy for real? I'll come to that in a second. Let me just answer the ab reaction one because that was a good question. So with the ab reaction that happened with the client I worked with, I was talking to her to help deepen her trance. I was asking her to imagine looking up into a night sky and seeing a bright star, and that the bright star was helping her to become more and more relaxed. Now she started to cry, And I thought, that's not the usual reaction. Normally, this is the pleasant part. You know, we weren't working on anything particularly sensitive, it was just a session of relaxation. But what had happened for her was she had linked seeing the star in her imagination to the experience of talking to her child about a relative that had passed away. And she told her child, you know, when Granny dies, she becomes a star in the night sky. She then thought of Granny and started to get upset. So that's an example of what an ab reaction could be. It's where someone has a reaction to something that you've said or something that's happened in the trance, where it might not necessarily look like there's any direct correlation, but you know, when you start doing some investigating afterwards, normally there is. Do I think Derren Brown discredits hypnosis? I love Derren Brown. I'm actually going to see him in Aylesbury next month, and I'm very excited about it, and I love what he does. I think that what's good about what he does is he definitely gets people thinking. He gets you asking questions like that, which is great. And it brings it more into the public eye. I'm a hypnotherapist as my job, so I'm also running a business related to that subject. What that means is that sometimes you know, there'll be stuff that's on the news or in the newspapers where it may even be bad publicity for hypnotherapists. But any kind of publicity seems to boost the number of inquiries that come in. So I couldn't honestly say that Derren Brown discredits hypnosis, because he brings a lot of attention to it and he gets people asking really good quality questions about it. But he, you know, he has obviously used it, from what I've seen, more in a showmanship kind of way than a therapeutic way, which is obviously very different to what I do. He is brilliant. I kind of agree with you there. And he's definitely better to see in real life than on telly. I can't see your name. Atom Create. So if any of you that are interested in the Periscope app as a result of watching the video that's going to be on YouTube, definitely download it because it's jolly good fun. Thank you for telling me I have a nice smile. These teeth cost a lot of money. Anyway, past life regression. All right, so here's my view on it. This is my personal opinion. It's not scientifically based in any way. My own personal view on past life regression is that people do have a genuine experience when we use hypnotic regression sessions with them. Whether they go back to a real, true past life or not, I think is very debatable. My personal opinion is that they don't. However, that's partly based on my belief that you don't have a past life. I believe you're here right now, and once you're done, and that's it. So that's, you know, tied into my own personal belief structure. What I would say, though, is that there is massive benefit and power in past life regression sessions, because my perspective on it is it's someone utilizing their imagination to overcome obstacles and limitations that they perhaps have in their life that they're having right now, their right now life, and that's incredibly beneficial. So I would never reject utilizing regression sessions with people because of my belief that past life isn't true. I would use them on the basis that they might have some power and importance in the life that they're having right now. So that's my view on that one. Let me see if there's anything else. What about genetic memory? I think that's a whole other different subject, but I do think there's value in that. I don't know, I mean, you hear about interesting stories where a child maybe remembers being a person from a previous life, and that, I would say, probably the majority of the time those are bogus and just hoax stories. But where there has been some digging around in evidence to prove them, that's where I would say maybe there's some power in genetic memory, but that's a whole different subject to hypnosis. That's just my personal views on it. I saw something flicked up there, but I missed it. My daughter used to say that. Yeah, kids say all sorts of weird stuff about, you know, I remember Granny being here, and they never met Granny, those sorts of things. Say hi to Anushka, my friend. She's watching too. Hello, Anushka. And as she's recording, it says in the title, yes, I am recording this video. This will be on YouTube, on our People Building YouTube channel, because I host videos on there. All right, so any other things anyone wants to know about hypnosis? Otherwise, I will pick up in the direction I was going before I got distracted by the brilliant questions. Do I have a website? Yes, it's peoplebuilding.co.uk. Our company specialises in training people to become hypnotherapists and also to become NLP practitioners. And it's a kind of, I guess the thing with NLP and hypnosis is they are unregulated industries. So there's a lot of different levels of quality in the training that you can access. That said, the skills are, I think, invaluable just in everyday communication, in being able to sell effectively. So I always think it's worthwhile exploring. It does irritate me that there's a huge variation in quality in the trainers that exist out there. But at the same time, I wouldn't be without the skills that I've got. And I think it's almost like the beast has got too big for it to become regulated anymore, which is a shame. Do people go into complete trance or a coma because of hypnosis? That's a good question. It's nothing like being in a comatose type state. So if I were doing some hypnosis with someone in the office here and the fire alarm went off, or there was a car crash out the front or something like that, they would be aware of it. It would would pull them out of the trance. There's always a degree of your conscious mind that's just sort of humming away in the background, and that's just for a safety element. It's very rare for someone to completely switch off, and if they do, then it's most likely that they've fallen asleep at that stage. So that's what's going on there. Can you do online hypnosis? I don't, but apparently you can do. I personally wouldn't do it because two reasons, I guess. One is that I get a lot of feedback from the client when I'm in front of them, from watching their breathing, from just kind of watching the flicker of their eyelashes or how their eyes are moving. And I think you might miss a lot of those details if you were using a kind of remote way of doing hypnosis with them. And I think as well, the more skilled you get at using things like hypnosis and NLP and those sorts of skills, the more you kind of rely on your intuition. I'm not going to start saying I've got a sixth sense or anything like that, but it's like when you get a vibe from someone, you can tell if someone's in a bad mood or a good mood, and it's not necessarily because of their face or anything they said. You might just pick up a bit of a vibe from them. So I would miss that if I didn't have someone physically in the room with me. Someone said, what's the difference between hypnosis and NLP? That's a good question too. There is a lot of overlap between the two of them, and I apologise. I appreciate I'm talking really fast, but I'm trying to keep up with all the good questions. There's a lot of overlap between NLP and hypnosis, but they are different. They're different methodologies. Hypnosis, we would typically attribute to a kind of state, eyes closed, deeply relaxed. That's not always true of hypnosis. Sometimes people have their eyes open. Sometimes they're in an awakened trance state. People, wander around the streets in a trance state. They just don't necessarily realise that they've achieved it. Whereas with NLP, it's much more proactive and interactive. It's lots of different cognitive kinds of techniques that you can use. There tends to be more interaction with NLP. But they do cross over, particularly with the language side of it. There's lots of hypnotic language patterns typically within NLP, as of course there is in hypnosis. And I can't see any more questions at the moment, but it's been lots and lots of fun speaking to you all. So I will go pop this video onto the People Building YouTube channel if you want to get a rerun, because I zipped through all of those different areas so very quickly. And it was great fun doing this on Periscope as well, because it's like people are listening live, which is very exciting. And maybe we'll do this again if it was enjoyable. We'll have to wait and see. All right, thanks everyone, and bye for now.